All right, everybody. Writer, it's the new season, season 32. And how we start our seasons is with the quote. So you need to decide right now, you're on the clock, who are you choosing to do quote? Is it me or is it Crimson? There's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, a lot of people looking at you, but we got to get this ball rolling fast.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, let me see if we can make a trade real quick. No team's taking my call. All right, I'm picking Crimson.
Oh, so fast. All right, Crimson. And you didn't even want to
Ah,
make a deal
darn.
about it.
No, I didn't.
See, I would have laid
I'm
down,
just forced into this role.
I would have done second quotes for the next 3 seasons. But I didn't even get talked to
I
about
wouldn't
it.
take that deal. I'll take third.
All right, Crimson, well, you got to decide your quote now.
You pancake eating.
Whoa, you talking about me? You talking about a writer here?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tsuki Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks. And hey, if you're listening from Cleveland, you can find us over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Blue Ski, LetterBoxd, where we have our average out numbers and graphs of whatever it is we have done or covered. We have visual side of things on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify. We also have audio platforms, including Spotify, out there as well. We have the intro. And back from the intro. Not as snazzy as the NFL logo, I would say.
That's true. Yeah, no, the NFL intro is kind of hard to beat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new season. We're doing you can't tell by our outfits or the film that I've yet to name, Draft Day. We're doing a football season.
Yes, much like
How
our
exciting.
baseball season.
Yes.
Flashback to like 2 years ago now.
It's been quite a bit since we've done the baseball season. Yeah. Was that our first? Did the baseball season include our first Tom Hanks movie for the podcast? Because that was before we did the Tom Hanks season, right?
Yes, I can't
I
recall.
think that was before Big.
League of Their Own was before Big.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're starting with Draft Day. I guess we should start with our histories. Both with football and both with perhaps a little bit of football movies, and then go into the movie itself. I will start with you, Sprinks.
Oh boy. Hey, I'm one who never really got into sports at any age. It was kind of not oversaturated, but kind of like beating the bush kind of thing with my dad, and he's a football fan, and I just couldn't. I guess the way it was introduced to me didn't work, so I was never a fan, and I know some teams, and I've played football games, and I've played some like tag football and stuff like that. I never actually joined a team. Yeah, I've never. I think I've heard of this movie with Kevin Costner's career when we were doing Field of Dreams, but never seen it. I don't think I've seen a trailer for it. Didn't really know anything about it other than it's the draft day of football. I think that's about it. Oh, I guess I know many football fans, one including a Dolphin fan. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I did drag Sprinks to a football party once upon a time for the Super Bowl.
You did?
Drag, more like you were required to be there because you lived with me at the time.
Yeah, I was just there.
Yeah. Free food, right? Crimson, how about you?
Okay. The only sports I really interacted with was soccer and baseball as a kid. I played those. Football, I was never able to throw a football. I still can't throw a football. It just tumbles in the air. I cannot get a spiral at all. I've played some football games, mostly with Sprinks. In regards to this film, similar to Sprinks, I think it was mentioned during Field of Dreams, and I think I've seen the DVD a few times, like in thrift stores and whatnot. Other than that, knew nothing about this other than football. First time for the podcast.
Well, alrighty. I guess it leaves me. I wasn't a huge football fan for most of my life. I think like Sprinks just never really didn't get introduced to me right as a kid. I was more of a baseball and basketball player growing up, and that transitioned into swimming, tennis, and uh, occasionally basketball still. Um, and then I think I want to say 2018, 2019. One of my family members moved in to live with me, um, and the football season was starting, and they knew me better. They knew me better, I guess, than when it was the people who first tried to introduce me to it. So they kind of sat me down and explained the strategies and stuff that went into it because I'm a huge strategy gaming person. I'm a strategy gaming nerd. I love chess, that sort of things. So it was pitched to me like a moving chess game, and that's how I started. At least for my team, which was the 49ers, I got to pick up on some of the strategies that they use to try to distract the other team and offensive plays and defensive plays, and that's kind of what got me into it a little bit more, understanding the depth that goes into the game. Um, and I've been a casual fan ever since. It's been a few years since I've sat down to watch a full game from beginning to end. I watch an occasional highlight, but really I haven't done much in the way of I haven't really done much in the way of like playing football. I haven't played many football games either. Um, and like I said, I've been to a couple different Super Bowl parties now. I've helped cook at one, and that's because giving myself stuff to do rather than watch the game, stuff like that. Um, and as to the movie, this is my first time watching the movie for the podcast. Like you guys, I've also heard of it before, both from our previous coverage during the baseball season, but also this was a movie that came up for discussion because I've lived in adjacent to a lot of football family members, fan family members. So, yeah. Uh, and I guess that's it for our histories, unless anyone's got a last minute thing to throw in that they might have forgotten.
I haven't seen that many football movies.
Oh, I don't know. I've seen a couple.
I don't watch very many sports films, so I'm not as well versed with football movies. The same way I'm not super well versed with baseball movies. But yeah, moving right on to facts about the movie. This movie draft date was released on April 11th in the United States in 2014 with a runtime of 110 minutes, with a budget of 25 million and a box office of 29.8 million. So I technically made its money back,
Yeah,
but
with
didn't really
marketing,
make much
they
of a
lost money.
yeah. I didn't generate much of a profit. Um, I would say it is directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Rajiv Joseph and Scott Rothman. Um, and Ivan Reitman has directed quite a few movies, but there's not like Space. I think he directed Space Jam, or he was involved with Space Jam.
The New Legacy?
And then no, the original 1996 version.
Good.
And yeah, he's more known as a producer than a director. I'm not saying he hasn't directed, but he's directed. He's again more famous as a producer, I think, than a director, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but just how it is. And I guess I can go to some of the more fun facts a little bit. The movie was originally centered around the Buffalo Bills instead of the Cleveland Browns, but the studio changed it to the Browns because the production costs in Ohio were cheaper.
Okay.
Well, okay. Also answers a question I had of whether or not this was loosely based on anything or not.
I will get into that at the end of the facts because that's a good.
All right.
That's pretty much my first. That doubles as my first point about the film, and then also that would probably go into some questions you guys might have. The team Sonny trades for as the top pick was originally supposed to be the New York Jets, but they dropped out of the movie at the last minute.
Oh, odd.
And
But we got the Seahawks.
yeah, so we got the Seahawks instead. It's interesting to see how the organization of everything works as far as like who was in the film because they wanted to be there. To be fair, the Jets don't actually have very good press, so I imagine that's one of the reasons they dropped out because the Jets kind of get duped a little bit, or the Seahawks get duped a little bit in the film. I wonder if that had something to do with it, but that's just my guess. The film was initially slated to be rated R by the MPAA, but Lionsgate appealed the rating and got a PG-13 rating without cuts. As a result, it is a very rare PG-13 film to use the term motherfucker.
Also, essentially, with that to have the word fuck twice.
I believe so, yeah. One of the interesting anecdotes about this film, the trick used by the Washington Redskins of taping a $100 bill at the back of the playbook is inspired by an anecdote of Jim Marcus Russell. One of the coaches in Oakland did not believe he was watching the game film and once purposely sent him home with a blank DVDs to watch. He returned claiming he watched the video and liked the game plan, obviously lying.
That's funny.
Trick him.
Yep. You got to know who's actually working for you. And I got two more. Arian Foster, who portrays Ray Jennings, the running back, actually played running back in the NFL for the Houston Texans and Miami Dolphins from 2009 to 2016. Ironically, he went undrafted in the 2009 NFL Draft out of the University of Tennessee.
So he was active during the filming of this then.
Yes, he was. And then Chadwick Boseman agreed to take the role of Vontae Mack after a Skype call he had with director Ivan Reitman. Boseman first wasn't sure if he wanted to play another elite athlete or do another sports movie right after 42, where he played Jackie Robinson.
40. Oh yeah. This movie just feels older than it is. I feel like this is a mid 2000s movie, 2014. So I guess that this is a weird feeling.
It's the editing.
Yeah, I think
that will be a discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that there's a couple going into like real world history now. There's a couple trades that are similar to the initial trade that Sonny makes during the film at the beginning, which is trading away 3-round first draft picks for a quarterback. It's happened a couple times, and I think that is my last fact. So I guess without further ado, does anyone have a fact they would like to throw in?
I don't have one.
Yeah, this is American football.
Oh, good clarification.
That is
just
very
a
true.
Fact.
That is very important.
This whole season,
and I guess
is
with
American football.
Yeah.
Yes,
whole season
no
is American
curveballs.
football. Or splitters. And all right, and I guess with that, we will jump right into coverage, and I will start with something that Crimson's already touched on. This is entirely a fictional film. All the characters that you see, all the GMs, owners, etc., are all fictionalized for the purposes of this film.
Okay. What's the
So this
format?
is not a. Oh yeah, we're doing.
Popcorn.
I actually forgot the name of it.
You said popcorn.
Popcorn, thank you. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain short-circuited. There we go. Yeah, we're doing popcorn.
Gotcha. All right. Popcorn, not based off of real events or people. So
Yeah,
okay,
that would be
I mean,
my
they benefit the film.
yeah. And I guess with that being my first point, anyone want to comment on that before I toss this around?
The fact that these are fictional characters might dive into some character motivations later for talking points.
Okay.
I don't have much to add.
Neither do I.
Fair enough.
I did. That was just something I didn't know, but I know now.
Yeah, it's a fair thing to go because it's a fairly grounded movie. So I feel like if you're not a huge football fan, you might take a lot of this as like reality.
That's a great segue for me. Not being a football fan, can you explain to me how the draft works? I don't know if I'm dumb or the film didn't explain it very well for someone who doesn't know football, but I don't know how the whole like pick system works.
So when there's a first round draft pick, it's essentially every team's first pick of the draft. So when Sonny traded away 3 first round draft picks, it essentially means the Seahawks would be picking twice in the first round. Does that make sense? No matter where the Cleveland Browns would have ended up on the roster for the draft, the Seahawks would have taken their place. So like the Seahawks have their own first round picks. Actually, let me figure out a better way to explain
So
this.
every year the first round is randomized for the teams. Everyone gets
No.
one, but it's who goes when.
It's organized as worst gets first pick of the draft.
Worst of the previous
Unless
season?
they've had a trade. Yeah, worst of the previous seasons gets the first round draft. Unless they have a trade. So, for example, let's say the Seahawks, since they're the ones that traded, they're the ones that got 3 round first draft picks. But let's say that they did the worst the next 3 seasons. Or let's say they did the best then, the next 3 seasons. Those first round picks would have been the 32nd pick of the first round.
If they were that good.
Make sure I got my number right.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a very good advantage if they're still going last with the first picks.
Yeah, that's assuming they're the best. So, the worst teams typically get first pick of the draft because they can draft the best players. It's supposed to help keep the NFL a little bit more on even ground. I would say that you can definitely trade up and trade around. The story I'm most familiar with recently is because my team, the 49ers, did trade up to get a third round, the third pick of the first round, for a first round pick of that good, but going third. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
So like two teams picked before them, essentially.
Okay, so with this explanation, I don't think the film did a good job explaining how it works.
For someone who doesn't understand it, no. But then again, the movie's called Draft Day.
Yeah.
I feel like it's marketing to those who know what Draft Day is.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
but
feel like
you kind of want to appeal to a general audience. And you'll probably have sports fans who bring in non-sports fans to watch it, like a father or something, like brings the wife and kids. And
like how Ryder
how
brought you and I.
Exactly.
Or
So
less, yeah.
it's kind of the film's job to make it digestible, I think.
Yeah, because it does the film doesn't really dive into like the preceding rounds of the draft. It's all about the first round of the draft. I think it's okay because that's not necessarily knowledge you need to work with outside of like I want your second round picks. That scene might lend into you needing to know more about how the draft works. But I think the rest of it's okay at face value.
And when they talk about the Browns getting a second first round pick, like how's that? I don't understand. Why do they have a second round pick?
Oh, they
I'm
traded
getting
for
it
it.
after your explanation, but
Yeah.
with how the film
Oh,
shows how that works, I didn't get it.
I see. Um, yeah, this is a difficult one for me to answer personally because I never buy into the draft hype, but I've been around people who do. So like, I've been fed knowledge against my will about how the draft works and stuff like that, and people they're hoping their team will get. Um, so I think I'm in agreement. The film could have done a better job establishing those rules. It wouldn't be too difficult to do that, but you'd have to get something. You could have the announcer do it at the beginning, because it's the announcer's talking about it. Because I think having a character in the film explain it would be problematic, considering they're all supposed to be
All
experts
too
and know what the
knowledgeable.
draft is.
Not
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
them.
So I think the announcer would be a good idea to introduce the flavors of knowledge you want to Crimson.
The announcer's good. You could also explain it to Rick.
Rick, yeah. So there's avenues. And I guess this is mainly my POV of lack of football knowledge. Sprinks, were you in a similar place?
I think I understood most of it. The part that was missing that confused me was showing that things can go on for seasons of picks, like the following seasons and picks changes. It would have been nice to. It feels like this draft day is fresh start on all teams versus any past trades of previous seasons affecting this one. There's nothing said about any other team with tradings of last season affecting this draft day, which I thought was a little left out. Now there's possible
they
that
talk
there
about
is
there's
none,
not
but
they do talk about previous trades about during draft day, because the Seahawks at the very beginning they talk about how like they want to trade Bo Callahan. It's like, how much did this team get for this trade? Oh, they got like 2 first-round picks and a second rounder, something like that. So they do talk about the history of what's going on, but nothing necessarily has a direct influence on this draft.
yes, nothing of past trades has affected this draft day from the beginning.
That we know of. But yeah. I guess it would be interesting if we got a little bit of tidbit of that, so they had to do some extra planning around, like, let's say the Arizona Cardinals got their first round draft pick moved up higher because of the trade that they made, and that's why they're like going into a position, and that's why, like, they're skipping talking to them essentially at the end. That could kind of play into what I think you might want, Springs,
Possibly.
or at least get more of an explanation of things that have affected this current draft. Don't know if that helped explain things for you, Crimson, but
Yeah, I understand it more. I also understand that the film kind of failed to at least clearly define it to me personally, anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So we have you who views the film kind of as having failed that a little bit. Springs is a little bit more on the fence. I'm okay with it, but I also I'm familiar with how the draft works. So you got a range, audience, on that one. How about you go somewhere, Springs? Popcorn
Cool.
or go linear like you usually do?
Yeah. Actually, I'll start with a bit of history I left out, and then I'll go to a point. I have a pet peeve with sports in general, and football. Football's a fine example for it. I don't like how to word it, the I was a part of the team thing, like the ownership for the individual of the team. It gets under my skin.
What do you
Oh, so like saying
like we won that game. We won the Super Bowl. You didn't do anything. Your team won. The ones you rooted for. It wasn't you.
Oh, when fans
Yeah.
are incorporating themselves. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it's just a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I haven't. I mean, like I said, I've been into real sports games obviously before. It kind of depends on the fan. Like the fans who were let's say they went to like a lot of important games, so they were there for that experience, they would consider themselves like a part of the team, regardless of, I guess, the
Yeah, but
whether or not they're playing.
the same
Yeah.
could be said like I went and saw a movie 3 times in theaters. Doesn't make it my movie.
An example in this film, the John Candy influenced that game, supposedly.
Maybe that's my popcorn. That's my jump to. And
All right.
writer, this was the Bravo I gave you, messaging day prior.
Yeah. I figured it was either John Candy or the fact that it was a 49er story that you were
No,
giving me
it
the
was John
Bravo
Candy.
for.
It was John Candy because back when we did the Tom Hanks season, John Candy was in the running of what I put down as like going through the filmography for, and I was flabbergasted that on the podcast, John Candy's first credited role we have is from Draft Day, playing himself.
Yep.
But
As himself.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'll take that one. It is a true story. That's I'm I'm actually not being biased when I say this. A lot of people consider that drive by Joe Montana from the 49ers to be one of the best final drives ever in football. So the story has a place here in the film, but I guess I'm sorry for taking John Candy's first credit for
no, you just snuck it in.
for our podcast. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hadn't. Crimson hadn't. Ryder, have you seen this movie before?
No, but I have seen it twice for the podcast because it's been a busy week for me, so I watched it twice just to make sure I absorbed it all.
Okay.
Surprise for all, then.
Yeah. The reason I picked it, I can give you that. The reason I picked this is because I knew it didn't directly involve a football game, but it's
about
I've
football.
heard that it. Yeah, well, there's that, yes, but also one of the reasons I picked it is because I heard that it was a very good way to introduce non-football fans to how big football fans feel about draft day. Because one of the things I do think this film does really well is it captures the emotions going into draft day for a lot of the football fans.
Yeah, I can kind of feel the intent there. Some of the character connections I don't really feel, which we'll get into.
I suppose.
I'm sure we will.
There's a lot of characters in this movie.
All right.
Lots of names.
Yes, there. Yeah, I'm surprised that I remember as many as I do, to be honest. All right, Crimson, you want to jump us somewhere?
Sure. Going to continue off of what I was setting up there. We talked quite a lot in the Tom Hanks season. I don't really think it was brought up in the trilogies about chemistry. This might be the most chemistry devoid relationship I've ever seen in a film. It is so absent between Sonny and
Allie.
Allie. I felt nothing. It's like they just stepped on set, said their lines, and that was it. It was so weird to see. Even the kiss that they had at the end, I'm like, this feels weird. Why does it feel weird?
I think
that could just be my reading, but
maybe I see that more in Kevin Costner acting to Jennifer Gardner than Jennifer Gardner to Kevin Costner. I see.
Yeah,
her with
I have the same
subtlety,
commentaries.
but
yeah, I have the same commentaries you Springs. I think it's more of a Kevin Costner problem than it is a Jennifer problem, and I do think it's on the Kevin Costner acting side because I do think it does a lot of other scenes here very well, but I do think the romance stuff for him is a little underutilized, or at least it does come across like he's just reading lines in a lot of his romance, quote unquote, romance scenes with Allie.
I'm also going to guess you dropping the P word was not literal to the damage ladder.
Yes, it was not literal to the damage ladder.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Still getting used to that.
Yeah, I need a new word to say instead of
Damage.
problem.
Damaging.
And it's
That's what I
because then that's not on the ladder at all.
Yeah, I'll have to. It's one of those things. Like I've had to filter out the R word. I used to say a lot at the beginning of the podcast. I have to filter. I just have to change over. It's gonna take me a bit.
Yeah. Well, these words you can still say.
Yeah, but they just mean something, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, damage.
Yeah, I guess I'm not on the same level as you guys because I don't think her performance with them was all that great either.
No, yeah, you're more of a 13 going on 30 guy. So
I could feel more of her acting in that. I mean, in Kevin Costner's, I guess, relationship with his wife in Field of Dreams was
that was better.
More. Yeah. And that came out before this.
Well, maybe it's just the character that Kevin Costner is playing. He's not as expressive. I mean, the most expressive he gets is when he tells everyone to shut up.
I don't know. He was pretty happy at the end of the draft.
Yeah, he does have like I said, during the draft, I think a lot of he does emote a lot in this film. It's not spread out everywhere. Yeah, all right. I will jump to the Seahawks wanting to make a trade at the beginning. So I'm gonna pull us right back. I do like that our the head coach of the Seahawks or the GM of the Seahawks kind of looks like Pete Carroll, who's been the Seahawks head coach who was the Seahawks head coach for over 2 decades, I think, if I remember right. So I find it funny that they cast someone who looked like him, which I in a weird way I kind of appreciated, even though it's a fictional character.
I wish I looked up the guy because I recognize him from something.
Okay, now you gotta remind me which guy.
The Seahawks guy. The first one with the trade with
Yes, I do not know.
Oh.
Yeah, I have all these names written down. I don't know who's who.
Yeah, what it's tied to.
Yeah, I know his name is Tom, but I don't know his last name.
So that's Tom.
Yeah, Seahawks Tom.
I'm not sure. By the way, do we ever see David Putney? Is that just a name, or is that character actually?
I think he's just name dropped.
He's just name dropped. Yeah.
Okay. Because at that part of the movie, I'm like, who the heck is David Putney?
The punter.
He hasn't
special teams member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They threw it in as a power play.
I think. Actually, I'm gonna look it up. I think David Putney is an actual NFL player. I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Ah. Do you think this movie would have benefited by actually having real life players in the movie?
Maybe if you're a sports fan, I wouldn't really get anything out of it. We don't really see a football game, so it's not like you see actors trying to play football or anything. So.
Yeah, that's usually a problem, and that's kind of that's as we get further in the season. There's a reason why I picked a particular movie because we're going to see how they portray actors playing football.
Yeah, Tom Brady's not in this one.
Yeah, yeah, he appeared first, I think, in our podcast in the Paul Ryan. No, Paul. I'm getting the actual name. Paul
Rudd?
Something. Paul Rudd, thank you.
Oh yeah. The
Tom Brady
one.
makes an appearance in that.
Living with Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
It's the only Tom Brady appearance I know of, I think, in the podcast off the top of my head.
I'm a little shocked at how fast you remembered that.
He was in the podcast. He was in the podcast before Candy was.
It's true.
What world?
Well, the reason I remember it is because I'm the only one that gave like a big background fact to it, because it was just a weirdly delivered line that you guys had a question about
That's also true. Yeah.
that he talks about. Yeah. So that's why I remember it in a weird way. All right. Springs.
Sure. Being not a sports fan and seeing the Cleveland Browns because I'm not familiar with them. The last time I saw the Cleveland Browns was when the Browns went to the Super Bowl when I was in the bathroom.
Hey,
I just had to make that.
good one.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, let's talk about the transitions of this movie.
There's a lot of them.
Very stylish.
There is a lot. It is a very flamboyantly flourish movie with its editing transitions.
Yes, which I believe gives off that early 2000s feel more so.
I can agree with that. I think overall it was a good decision because a lot of this movie is very stagnant. It's just people standing and talking, and the way they implemented that made it feel a little more active and engaging, at least for me. Anytime a character like walked over a different scene, I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, that's kind of cool."
Glad you bring that up. That happens twice. First instance is at 1814 timestamp. Crimson, can you explain to me how they did that shot?
Either draw masking or a green screen effect, but probably the draw masking.
Okay, you think it was frame by frame draw mask out of a background to overlay another shot?
That would be my guess.
Okay. Definitely can see that being a way. I also thought the possibility of a green screen lined pair. So like a camera is on a robotic arm, so it's the same exact movement, and the actor is in the scene, and then a green screen, and they overlay where it cuts.
In 2014, they did have that tech, but that was kind of the startup of like those like programmed cameras.
Yeah.
Pretty early days.
But it also brings on every time there's a phone call scene, they don't just have the half and half. They have people green screen overlaying into the other shot.
Yeah, like the shoulders crossing over.
Yeah.
Their arm moves in.
That's got to be dramatized out because the background they're in is real. At least to me, I think it's real. Unless it's a whole green
I think
screen.
it is just draw masking.
Yeah, I think it is draw masking. I'm looking at one of those scenes right now. I think it's draw masking. Yeah, because green screen in 2014 still had for low budget films like this, I think they would still have a more of a an
Fuzzy.
obvious like identification. Yeah, it would be a little bit more fuzzy. So I think draw masking is the most likely happened.
That's pretty cool. That the two scenes they did it then with the walking over the phone call from like half a shot over to the other half a shot, that must have taken some render time.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, they had time and the money to do it. Plus, these are presumably professionals, so they're probably fairly quick at it. Though draw masking is still a time-consuming thing to do.
Yeah, but to get
stylish.
back to to get back to what you said, Crimson, about all of this, is I agree. I think the movie would feel a lot more static without it. I think it helps the movie feel more dynamic, more alive, and I think it does the editing does a better job of pulling us into the drama that surrounds Draft Day.
And splitting the screens to show two characters' POVs during a conversation instead of just focusing on one face. I think there's a lot of benefits to how they formatted this.
Yeah. I guess I'll jump to the scene where I'll jump to the trade itself. It's very rare that someone trades 3 first-round picks for a quarterback. It's happened, I think. I know my team did it. I think it's happened once. Funny enough, I think the Browns did it in It might have even been 2014, but I know it was in the early 2000 teens, I think, um, that they did it as well. But uh, it's rare because obviously, as one of the sticking points comes later on in the film, it's you. A lot of teams don't like to give up that much of their future for a single potential prospect.
Which leads into a question I had about this initial deal. What was the reason for Tom to even pitch this?
They want to save they want to save draft cap. So they would when they said they want to save money essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, and it comes back later on as to why the Seahawks are okay with drafting Bo at like round 6 or 7, because they wanted yeah, they wanted round 6. The reason they wanted to draft Bo at 6 then is because since they didn't take him as a first round, they didn't take him as like the number 1 overall pick. That would keep him under their draft cap space. Hence the why they were okay with that.
Yeah, he was $7 million less, or whatever they said about that. I think that's
Yeah, for being
he was
sound pick.
$7 million cheaper for it. Yeah.
Yeah, you lose your you lose value the further down you end up falling in the draft.
Okay. So the player was just too expensive for him, and they were just opening for a deal then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Springs?
Sure, I'll pitch a big question that's not answered in the movie, so I'm curious what you two think. Was Bo Callahan's teammates at that party?
I can't remember. Based off of how he reacted to the question being posed, he knew the damage to the question. So I'm going to assume his team was not there.
Okay.
That's my takeaway.
Yeah, with the conversation he has with the head coach, I do think his team was there, but the police just didn't write their names down because they didn't want to ruin the future of these athletes, and that happens all the time in sports. That people look past, like, drunk driving or DUI or or things like that, if they're a good enough athlete. It's happened plenty of times in sports. I think that's what that's doing. So I do think his teammates were there probably, but
So
like I
you
said, I think
believe he actually forgot then?
no, I believe he's lying.
But
He's-
why?
No, that doesn't make
Since
sense.
he's an established no, he's an established liar, and it does make sense.
No, I mean, why would he lie about his team being there
Because
or
then
not?
it
Because he doesn't.
shows the
That would get
bribery
them
to
in
the
trouble.
police.
Yeah. Yeah, that would get them all in trouble. They're all supposed to be star athletes.
Okay, so then that poses why was Bo the one to take the fall for his team?
I legitimately think he's the team captain. He's the team leader. I think he willingly took the fall because I don't think Bo is necessarily like a bad person. I just think he is very desperate to want to get drafted, which is very different. So I don't think he's like outright bad. I think that's something he'd be more than willing to do because you have to think about it like your teammates are your friends and you set the tone as the leader. So if it's your fault they're all about to get caught, you might step up to the plate and do that. Which is why, he's still a high draft prospect even when the Seahawks grab him. So I'm more likely to believe that he lied about not remembering because he was drunk in order to protect his teammates, because it's not a huge reach for me, but he would still lie about it.
Well, that's two of us split. Springs, what's your view on it?
I think his teammates were there, and it was the hypothetical posed that the police didn't jot down their names for protection, and being that it was Bo's party, so all evidence was like shown of like the ones who weren't the team members, but everyone else of the 100+ people that the police had to jot down would have told stories that it was there for Bo's birthday. So Bo's name was everywhere. So it makes sense that he couldn't be like not present or listed as not being there, but the rest of his team could have been not put down. So I think they were there.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Crimson.
All right. Personal, like subjective thing for me, or Vontae, I didn't like that things worked out for him because in terms of he got kind of scolded by Sonny for the tweeting, and it doesn't really come back to like when he gets the job. Essentially, Sonny's like, "All right, you got the job. All right, I'm serious about the listening and falling into line thing." Like, there's no callback to it being a negative trait that he did.
Well, there's two positives that occur
kind of
afterwards. Before that, so the one negative, the tweet, and then the positive of giving the ball to his sister, and then the calling back of like, look what happens after I sack him for like the 4th time. To see the difference in the character of Bo.
Yeah, but it's not a math problem. It's it's because 2 goods outweigh a 1 bad doesn't mean the 1 bad shouldn't be addressed later.
No, the bad's still there, but being the bad started it, he still. I mean, the only thing he gave was like rewatch the tapes. He didn't say anything about the sister, and the sister came up later just to show who Vontae is as a character to Sonny. So I think it's kind of the outweighed of Vontae trying to be like, watch the tapes to go against my tweet, like a good for a bad. But there was more in it that Sonny saw him as the overall character. And Sonny already wrote that down that morning on the paper for wanting Vontae before the tweet or before anything occurred to his knowledge of seeing. So there must have been also a starting block of Vontae to Sonny.
I'm thinking about how I would incorporate your tweet thing, Crimson, because your biggest issue here is that it just didn't come up again.
Yeah.
And I think the way you could come up again is one of the reasons he's dropped to 15th overall, because that's the fear before he gets drafted first. Is maybe like he gets his agent sits down with him and says, yeah, there's some concerns over like your the tweets that you might write, so this team's backed out, so you might drop out of 15th. Cleveland's still your best hope. I might tweak that dialogue, I think, to fix it, because I think Sonny's choice, I don't think it needs to be brought up in Sonny after Sonny picking him first overall, because at that point Mac had proved to Sonny his character and his loyalty. So I think that's where I would drop in at least a callback to the tweet comment. Like his agent said, the tweet is, it's dropped your overall prospects. That makes sense.
That's one way, but I just feel like it's more Sonny's character's responsibility to bring that up and not the manager. Or whatever his job title is.
Yeah. Well, and also, most NFL players do have a Twitter. So, I mean, it's not exactly a huge negative. He's just pointing out what he personally doesn't like, which is that, GMs hate that shit, more or less.
Yeah.
But I sort of see where you're coming from, Crimson. I don't think I'm 100% there with you on your subjective for this one. I would have liked it to be touched on it, but I think my pick would be the agent, because I don't think it needs to come from Sonny. Because Sonny clearly likes him a lot. He was Sonny was going to pick him what happened, according to his note. That was his first gut feeling.
Whose team was Vontae on before this draft?
College.
Oh, okay, just college into NFL. Okay.
Yeah. Every game that you're watching, like with prospects of like when Vontae's tackling Bo in the footage there. Those are the college games. The Heisman Trophy is a college award, so they're all from universities. So they're none of the people that are being drafted are in the NFL. That's the point of the NFL draft.
Okay.
They're drafting what are the best prospects from the universities that play.
Okay. I guess I can go somewhere. I have a question. How come there's like a whole news team at Vontae's house, but there isn't one at Brian Drew's?
Well, Brian Drews is already a drafted QB. Like he's already in the team.
Okay.
So,
but then is it every college footballer who's could be drafted?
It's not every college footballer, but it's usually like the first it's usually everybody in the first round are typically have news people around their house or at their house because those are all the ones that are all the first 32 players picked are supposed to be the high impact players, the ones that are going to make the biggest difference in your team. So that's where all the news people go. As you fall to the second round, the third round, and the fourth round, and the fifth round, you won't have any news people at your house. You'll just have your family, and they might record your reactions.
Okay,
what's going on?
That's something I didn't quite
and
get.
And that might get on the news.
Okay, but I guess I didn't understand why people think Vontae's so high up on the list when all the teams telling Sonny is, because of the game where he gave the football to his sister, he's not high on the list.
And the thing that might stand him out is that tweet, because that's a public tweet, so he's got insider information. There might be drama for that, and news loves drama. So they might have sent people just to see the full story.
Yeah.
He was not favored to be a first pick or anything. He was supposed to be like 13th and then get to 15th. He wanted 7th, right?
Yeah, the Browns were going to draft him at 7th originally. And then the trade happened, and that's what screwed him up, and that's why he tweeted. So he still, I think, would have had the news at his house if he was drafted at 7th. And being drafted at 1st, the news would pretty much teleport to his house. Not literally, but they would be there pretty quickly. Because it's very rare for a first-round draft pick to not be at, like, the party or what's going on, the celebration.
Okay, I think I get it. It's because of the tweet that drew in the attention.
Yeah, I think that might be a corner aspect of it. And
to me, it just wasn't very clear.
Linebackers. Yeah, I'll say this: the first 5 picks are usually quarterbacks, maybe a very, very gifted running back or very, very gifted defensive tackle. Linebackers typically fall, but like really, really good linebackers like Vontae Mack would have typically fallen further behind that. So as to why other teams aren't picking him first, they might just need they might not need a linebacker. They might need something else on their team. Because people pick on their first round in the draft is usually they're picking something they desperately need, which is usually a quarterback, running back, etc. So that might be another reason as to why Vontae Mack had fallen, why other teams were passing on him, just because they had a position they needed filled more than a linebacker. But within the context of the film, I would say it's probably the tweet, because that's definitely like outer football knowledge for me making my best guess work.
So we've talked about the framework of time and many things. This has time everywhere, mostly pertaining to a countdown to the draft. I don't know if they oversaturated it or if it was even super necessary, because they didn't really reference the time all that much until like the last hour of it. I don't know if you guys have any feelings towards the clock that shows like 20 times.
Somewhat.
Yeah. Why don't you go first, Springs?
It builds tension. I think that's the point of it. It goes into a question I was going to pose of, do you think it's too much being this is a fictional story, so what they chose to do was all written in and not actually depicted on real life events, do you think it's too much drama's sake to build up onto Sonny's character for the audience of the time counting down? So, there's a deadline to be made. The coworker is pregnant. His father just died. His mom shows up unannounced. Like, just constant things being built of drama for drama's sake, kind of written in, but the point of believability. I didn't know if it was just too much to try to make the film more edge of your seat.
I'm leaning it's a
There's-
lot. I think you could get away with not even having the romantic interest in this film. I really don't think she's all that impactful. Now, she has enough to where I can't say she's a removable character, but if we made this movie without her, I don't think all that much changes.
I think I do think there's a lot of drama. I'm in agreement with it. There's a lot. I'm not sure what I would remove because I'm not with you fully there on the romance aspect of it, because a lot of people think football itself is drama. So I think incorporating all this other drama around it, I think it makes a sort of symbolic sense, because all this stuff is like distracting him on what's the most like stressful day arguably for NFL teams, which is draft day. So I mean the one that's like the one that for me that was the worst one was honestly the mom showing up unannounced to spread ashes on the field.
Yeah, and the
Like
ex-wife.
she could do that tomorrow. Yeah, like that could be done tomorrow. Like why are you guys here draft day? For me, that one felt the most forced because it just made the mother seem really uncaring, and like she would know that this is a super stressful day for her son, and that her it could wait a day to spread the ashes. It's one of those weird things where it's just that one felt super forced to me. I think that was the one that pulled me out of the film the most.
Yeah, that one's pretty forced.
Okay. I'm on the side where I think it was too much. I don't think it ever broke the point of believability necessarily. I guess, well, the mom being unannounced, I feel like someone would have seen or notified her for her to be in the office or to inform Sonny.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Sonny's missing like his father's will reading for draft day should tell you how stressed he is about this whole thing. It's
what
one
was
of
the
those
will reading that day?
I don't know. It comes across to me like it is because it's not that Sonny hated his father. He talks about it with Allie later on. It's just they had a lot of spitting towards each other towards the end because his father thought he didn't like him or whatever.
Okay, I was under the impression that it was prior, but he kind of brings it up to Allie. Yeah, he kind of brings up to Allie he didn't go not because of his dad, but because of his mom.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we really get a timeline on when the will reading happened, other than it happened
within a week.
Could have been within the week, yeah. So I don't know much on that part of it. But, I do think the mom is too extra in this, especially since she knows she's kind of to blame for her son's like misery,
estrangement from her father. Yeah.
We're also the public hates him. She knows her husband started to not like the son. She's kind of the core of his problem. True. And she doesn't really take any accountability for it.
Also,
that's why I think the mother's
her introduction to us to the film is knowing about football ahead of Sonny, about news. So she knows what to look at, like through Twitter and everything. So that would obviously show she knows draft day and what's happening in Sonny's life. Not to come unannounced. It's like, oh, was that today? Oh, well, this is more important right now. And none of that. She's fully aware of what she's doing.
Yeah. And I think that to me is the core of my issue, because I have to up her down as a vindictive bitch, kind of, because there's no way that she doesn't know that this is a day where she could have come on any other fucking day to have her son read out the will or read out the prayer or whatever. But she chose today. She knows what she's doing. I think if I were to talk about forced drama, that was the most forced aspect of it.
It's not much better, but if it was stated in the will that he wanted his ashes spread on draft day, it's still kind of cliche and stuff because he didn't know when he was going to die. But
yeah, if that were the case, though, it could be getting back at his son, who he thought betrayed him. So I'm actually would be okay with that if that was like an interpretation that Sonny would have of the will. It was his dad getting back at him one more time for firing him. Like he wanted his ashes spread specifically on draft day, the busiest day for his son, you know? I think that would work, but it would be cliche.
And it's not what they ended up doing. So yeah, the mom's just awful. And they didn't earn the ending with her like, oh, we're all happy now. There's a baby. Ooh.
Absolutely not. That's just that was definitely not earned.
Yeah, it's just a lot of drama.
And then there's Vince, the coach, I guess. I didn't really.
Coach
was
Penn?
That his job title? Coach. Okay. Yeah.
Coach Penn. Yeah.
Lots of drama with him. Lots of undermining.
I would guess he's the head coach. I don't know who the offensive or defensive coordinators are watching this, but
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Vince as a character, he's kind of interesting because he's kind of played as a selfish person, but also team oriented at the same time. It's kind of interesting. They play with that.
He's a guy who wants Sonny's job the whole movie, but can't.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing, right? Head coaches want players, GMs want players. A good team will have a head coach and a GM that will work together to draft the right players. However, obviously the decision is ultimately the GM's. Because it's the head coach's job to coach the team, not draft players for the team. But if you have a good duo, the two of them will work together and agree on all the draft picks beforehand. So making them antagonistic towards each other is definitely for the purposes of drama. I do think it works, though, because obviously Coach Penn, being an offensive coach, is clearly more offensive-minded, which is why he wants Ray Stevens. Wants Ray to be the running back. Ray Jennings. He wants Ray Jennings as his running back. Because that's the part of the team he's mostly focused on. And then you could have had, let's say, a defensive coordinator arguing for Vontae Mack and having, Sonny agree with them, but that would have just been another character. So I think it works that Sonny wants Vontae just for character reasons. Like he just respects Vontae more as a person. So there is some stuff you could do with that. But I would say that Coach Penn is he's not necessarily after Sonny's job. He just wants to make a team that he wants to run, because that's what a lot of head coaches are like. I think that's a fair assumption to make.
Sorry, just processing. Yeah. Again, this is all new to me. I don't know. I'm not a sports guy.
Yeah, so. No worries. Yeah, like I said, feel free to ask questions, because like I said, this is I think is showing a dysfunctional head coach GM relationship, and I think that's normal to share because there are splits that happen.
Yeah, this was a good drama in the film with these two.
Yeah, I'll jump to a small scene I like for Sonny's character. When the intern's like crying over his laptop, Sonny like tells him the truth and is direct with him and apologizes and offers to get him a new computer. I like that because it shows a lot of Sonny's character admitting to lose his cool, and he's also encouraging the intern a little bit because they've both had a pretty rough day.
Someone broke my computer. Who would do such a thing?
It was me. I was angry.
I don't know. It was a little over the top, but yeah, good on Sonny's character, I suppose.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's why I focus on the character, not the acting.
No, I think Rick is certainly an interesting add-in to the movie of being whimpery and nervous and I guess fragile somewhat, of everyone else being tense and stern and demanding. So he
Yeah.
does balance that a bit, and how kind Allie is to always like incorporate him and to listen to him when everyone else is kind of
And
ignoring
defend
him.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and defend him when people are being aggressive towards him. But yeah, I'd agree. Spriggs, you want to jump somewhere?
Sure, where to jump to? I'll go down just a thing with the casting. First off, huge cast. Didn't know these people were in this movie. Like a lot of big names. I'm curious for the casting if it's just like another role for some of these people, or some of these people are just actually like really big football fans and wanting to be in the movie.
That would be an interesting thing to find out.
I don't have the history for that one, so I got nothing for you there. Sorry.
But yeah, most of the people with names I do recognize. Maybe 75-ish%. A fair number.
Okay. Like I recognize the what was it? I don't remember their names, but the two guys in with the team, the guy who's kind of balding with the Browns, I recognize him, and I recognize the guy who is at the Radio City Music Hall, waiting for the calls from the Browns.
Yeah, I recognize both of them as well.
Yeah. The balding guy, I recognize one of the actors that are just like on the assessment team where they're having them look into Bo, like trying to figure out who he is. I know one of them is from Arrow, and I know, I'm in agreement. It's a pretty big cast of known actors here.
Yeah.
You got the big brother from
Okay.
Cheaper by the Dozen.
You just took it out of my mouth.
I
was gonna say, what do you?
I
was gonna say, what do you know Tom Wellens from?
Oh, and Smallville. I never watched Smallville.
Oh, that's what I feel like everyone would say, Superman. But
yeah, Cheaper by the Dozen, big bro. But that does kind of get into a topic. I think they undercooked some of these characters or storylines, I guess. I feel like Brian and Ray are just dropped in, and then by the end it's like the Browns got 3 of the picks they wanted or whatever, and I'm like, okay, we had like 1 minute with Ray and his father in the beginning of the movie, and now we're happy for him at the end. And yeah, and you get one scene with him in the locker room, and then we see him excited at the end, and it's just like, okay, good on them. Yes, thank you. Good job, movie. I don't know. It's underbaked.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to have, like, for Ray Jennings, I think he's more passable because Coach Penn hypes him up in that scene where he's talking about, Ray running down the field. So I think that helps with Ray's. I'm in agreement, though. There's not really much for Brian Drew. I think another scene with him talking to Coach Penn, or him talking to the head coach again, or something like, or the GM. Sorry, Sonny. I do think there could be more for that on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're not. Is there anyone in this movie you would say is a cutaway character?
The Chiefs guy.
Loose of a term for characters, yeah. Chiefs guy. Which one's Chiefs guy?
Is that Sam Elliott?
He calls because he wants to see if he's the one that calls to see if their Brian Drew's available, since they got the first overall pick, and they're gonna. Everyone thinks they're gonna try out Bo.
I mean, it kind of adds something the story a little bit. There's some takers. I don't know,
Yeah.
just every role in this is so small that I just like.
Well, Sonny's not a
But
small
they
role.
add something. No, Sonny's not a small role. But I didn't say everything was a small role. So many are small
You know what?
roles.
I think the ex-wife could be gone. I don't think she has any reason to be here.
The ex-wife.
Yeah, she just adds more drama.
Yeah, that one felt
few
needless.
lines out of there.
I think the drama between Sonny and his mom was enough. I don't think we needed the ex-wife to add more tension.
Or to even know
She's a character that added
was
nothing.
Well,
Yeah.
let's see. Sonny being previously married, not having a kid, versus being with Allie and they're not married and are having a kid, unplanned. Does that build into the difference of relationships onto Sonny's character?
I don't think we get to see enough of the ex to see a contrast in his partners to add much of an impact other than she's an ex.
Okay, I'm just going.
Maybe
one
if
was
the mother
devoted
complained about her, but
and nothing, and this one's not with something. So
yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
if the ex wanted a kid and then she found out that Allie is pregnant, then there could be some drama there and whatnot. But I don't think there's enough.
that would screw up. I think that would screw up the divorce timeline. But yeah, it'd have to be some reworked with what you're pitching, Crimson. But yes, that could work to provide a contrast. But we definitely don't see it enough of the ex to get it.
Yeah, and writer.
The only thing we go with the ex is she's in the will, so she, even though she's an ex, she's still within the family to some degree.
Is she?
I mean, she arrived with the mom, and she's in the will, so there's got to be some loose.
What was it said she's in
left.
the will?
Why else would she show at the will?
Because she knew the family.
If she's not a part of it. That's not standard will fare. You don't just invite a bunch of random people to a will reading.
This mom could.
What are you talking about? Marta was clearly at the.
Oh gosh! Don't even knives out.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least my reading is she's in the will because there's no real reason for her to be there.
I could see it as she has a closer relationship with Sonny's mom.
Yeah, we have to infer that she has a close relationship with the mom. It's okay that we can. It's okay to infer that, but I'm still in agreement that I don't think she adds enough to the film to provide the contrast that we're looking for, that we would want Sprinks to keep her in the film. But yeah, the idea that she wanted a kid, maybe that could be a reason that we just don't get. There could be, he's too involved with football to have a relationship outside of that field, and that's be why Allie's better for him.
Yes. Also, to touch back on what you said, writer of Sonny's mom not being like aware of it, she does misname Allie on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah. It's like I said, my interpretation is the mother's just awful.
But by the end, we're supposed to like her. She's happy.
Yeah, I have no sympathy for her. I'm like...
But with the pressure of all these other things of drama's sake being added in, and the inference of things with the ex-wife, because it's not stated one way or another. Like, it wasn't like a heat of rage and, bring up Allie's pregnant then, and then she goes, why are you pregnant with this woman, we couldn't do it, or something like that, to build in more of a reason of a contrast with the ex-wife. I think I'm leaning she can be on the chopping block.
Yeah. Is it unanimous? Is ex-wife, whose name I don't think I even wrote down, on the chopping block?
It's a yes from me.
It's on the chopping block from me. Yeah.
All right. I'm begrudgingly saying yes because I don't even really count her as a character. But I guess cutting her.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember her name, but she has speaking lines and a scene.
She's a character because she adds more, like a lot more weight of drama to a scene, but that's all she does. And I would much rather tweak the mother's stuff to make that stuff fit more appropriately into the film, because the mother stuff seems far more important. And so I would much rather try to fix what's wrong with the mom than deal with the ex if I had to pick one.
Yes. I think the strongest case of the ex being present in the movie is to show Sonny had an established relationship to the point of marriage prior to his fling he's having with Allie.
And we simply just don't get enough time with her to grow anything.
True.
Or even reference. It's not like he
that,
talks about her throughout the movie.
Yeah, but even having that, that's not coming across later in like a closet talk with Allie saying, I didn't know you were married. Or anything. Like, it's just, there's nothing of it.
There's no weight.
Yeah. All right, Crimson, you want to jump to? If that's all we have to say on that one.
Yeah.
Next wife's out of here.
That. Yeah, she's gone. Kick her to the curb. Anthony, I guess the head honcho guy. He's interesting. I don't like him as a character. I know you're probably not supposed to like him as a character. Yeah.
Got to make a splash.
But he just feels cartoony, which once again isn't innately a bad thing, but I don't like it here.
No, he feels
cartoony.
I fully agree. He does feel cartoony, being that he flies all the way out to give Bo the jersey, flies all the way back because he did get the jersey, and then gets yelled and is like, you're a dead man to Sonny. Sonny does two things, which is still not getting Bo, and then he shakes his hand and he's like, well done.
Well done. You got what you could have gotten from the very beginning. Good job. Except you lost the second pick.
Yeah, he's in the room and he goes, Bo Callahan's still in the running? Oh, okay, this could still be okay. And then he doesn't get Bo.
This definitely needs to be portrayed better. But the fact that they got the two missing pieces to their team is why he forgave Sonny, because Ray Jennings would have been gone by the second round. Another team would have drafted him, because with how talented he is, it makes sense that it would be. So be able to get Vontae and Ray Jennings is kind of what makes up for the fact that he didn't get Bo.
Yes, but
and that's why when we come in earlier, when we see Coach
Anthony doesn't know or has expressed anything about Ray Jennings.
Well, he did. He did at the sit down with when he was threatening to fire him at the water park. People pay to get wet. That whole conversation. He's like, yeah, Coach Penn wants Ray Jennings.
Oh, okay.
It's like defense doesn't cause a splash, that sort of thing. So he's aware of Ray Jennings. And that's why on the whiteboard, when we're cutting between Sonny arriving and Penn hyping up Ray Jennings, on the whiteboard before he writes Bo, we see a comparison sheet of Vontae Mack and Ray Jennings, because right in that point in time, they only have one draft in the first round. They can only get Vontae or Ray Jennings. So the forgiveness from the owner is that he managed to get both of the people that their team needed. But it's, I do think the film could have portrayed that a little bit better.
I agree. I did not know Anthony's idea on Vontae and Ray Jennings is a positive light, because the conversation you brought up prior seemed to be that Ray Jennings would not make a splash, and he wants Sonny to make a splash in the metaphor, and Ray Jennings is not that. So choosing Ray Jennings in the room with Anthony, who's already mad at Sonny, doesn't seem to make sense. Doesn't make sense to me that Anthony would then be okay with, when his previous conversation was don't do that.
Where you got someone who wouldn't make a splash and then a rookie guy.
Yeah. Like, is the splash just making Anthony angry of like saying don't do something and he did it anyway, and that's the ball Sonny has and is showing Anthony for Anthony to then be okay with it? Because to the audience, we understand why Vontae and Jennings are both chosen, and that's good for the team. I don't see Anthony's explanation of him being okay with it all.
As I said, he didn't want, like I said, for him, he was okay with Ray Jennings. That would have been something he would have been okay with, but it wouldn't have so it wouldn't have been like a huge great shift or whatever that caused the splash. But he would have accepted that if it were their original pick. So the fact that the um, that Sonny both got the player he wanted and then also the player that Penning wanted, his head coach, the balls to make all those last minute trades and kind of, hold Seattle to the floor at the end and convince, was it Buffalo that needed to trade? No, it wasn't Buffalo. It was, he traded with somebody he traded with somebody at the end there to kind of hold the Seahawks hostage. So I think
Jaguars.
that's why the Jaguars. That's why the owner respects Sonny, because he got the player he wanted and he got the head coach a player he wanted. So that's why he gives him the compliment of "you got balls." It might not have been Bo, but he respects the fact that the GM was getting the players that the team needed anyway, by any means necessary. I don't think that's portrayed well in the film, but I see the sentiment into why the owner is okay with it. But it's because he's so heavy in on Bo. I think the film needed to do more to for him to be convinced that this was a good enough trade. So like if he was there and he watched if he was standing there and watched the head coach pitch Ray Jennings, I think that would be okay.
That's something I was going to say, a potential fix, because I agree with what Sprinks is saying about it, is if we had a scene where Anthony's in the war room or whatever, the strategizing room, and they're talking about the players, that way we can see his value system more in play with all the players in play. Because right now it's very disjointed, and he just seems very focused on Bo. So if we had a more balanced take of his views of everybody, I think that would benefit.
Yes. It's just a missing.
I'm in agreement with you guys. Yeah. I think that's what will clear up your issue, Springs. And I'm in agreement. That's one of my bigger criticisms of the film as well, is I wish I could buy the owner's flip at the end a little bit more, and that just needs a little bit more supporting structure. And I think having him in the war room, as Crimson suggested, would fix that.
And Crimson, would that make it less cartoony then?
Might add nuance.
What his other actions are. Yeah, it'd add nuance. If he maintains his other actions, he'd still probably be a little cartoony. But I'd have to see how the end result would look.
Okay.
I think, I'll talk about one of my other brief comments. It's adjacent to this scene, so I may as well touch on it now. I actually like, he says, I'll be there in an hour to talk to Sonny, like to face. And then we go through like 4 or 5 more draft picks, and then he shows up, which would have been about 50 minutes to an hour. So I'm actually give thumbs up. The film did a good job keeping track of time for that little bit. It's a tiny thing that I really appreciated.
Good. Did they have a good pace of her pregnancy from draft to game?
That's a good question. Draft day. I think draft day. Let me look up when NFL draft
season
is.
kickoff.
Yeah.
Because she's definitely pretty visible at that point.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Benefit is there's no date tied to it, so.
The NFL draft takes place in April. NFL kickoff typically happens first couple weeks of September. So it's been.
Oh, okay. It's been a whole summer.
That's long enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a few months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And
so
that passes.
Thumbs up for that as well. Yeah. For fun, I actually should have looked up and see what the drafts were in April for the NFL draft this year.
Well, you got time after the podcast.
I do. I might do that just for fun. I'll carry that as some information to our next episode. Maybe anyway. All right. That was my last one. Was kind of my point. That was Crimson Soda Springs.
Okay. Why Bo is being as honest as he can to try to guarantee himself spot one with his agent. I'm trying to think why he thinks his answer of saying I don't remember is well enough to give him the understanding that he didn't get number one from the Browns. Because he gets really rattled and walks out of Radio City Music Hall over it. Like, is he that blinded by how good he thinks he is that it wouldn't matter?
It's a macho pride thing. A lot of NFL players have that. Bo has had the expectation that he was going to be the first overall draft pick for a while. Like, and everyone was talking about him as he was going to be the first person taken. So when he's not taken, as it points out in the war room, everybody was panicking because that's such a an unprecedented thing, and it happens occasionally, as I'm saying.
Well, I get that,
But
yeah, for the war room. I mean, for Bo.
yeah, I'm describing why Bo is acting the way he is.
Sprinks, is the question or the point him correlating his loss to that final phone call?
Yes.
Okay.
Because ultimately, that's what lost him his place as a decision. Now, it could go with that no matter what was said or happened or anything, that Sonny would still choose Vontae over his note from the morning.
Well, his note is to choose Vontae from the morning. I do
But
think
Vontae could have been his second pick.
Yeah. Well, no, Vontae was going to be his first pick.
Exactly. Then it goes into no matter what Bo would have done or said, it wouldn't have mattered.
I think at that point, Allie helped ground him to help him make a decision, because that's one of the things that they have their conversation about, slowing everything down just to be certain with yourself. And that's why she gives him the note, because she knows that that's the decision he wanted in his heart from the beginning, which was Vontae.
Yes. So what I'm getting at is that for me, the movie has to be played like that Bo had weight onto Sonny. Otherwise, it's irrelevant, this whole Bo mystery of why it would matter.
And yeah, I think they portray Sonny as being conflicted. That's why he talks to Allie about it, and the ultimatum that he had with Vince, the coach. So I do think he was tackling his original gut of Vontae. I do think they did a decent job with his internal conflict, even though ultimately he did end up picking his initial gut pick.
Okay.
At least that's my reading out of it.
Yeah, that's how I read it too.
Okay.
I do think he was conflicted, but I think the last conversation with Allie helped ground him, because he gets a lot of things like, oh, Brian Drew is in the best shape of his life, and he gets a lot of other things like pushback of the things that the team could need or want. So I do think that at least for it makes sense for the weight that it affects Sonny is to make the choice anyway. And I do think that does affect Bo's pride, and that's why he does get mad and storm out. And it is reflective of like him being nervous, because we see that even in his tapes that he gets nervous when he gets pushed around too much. And NFL draft is a nerve-wracking night if you're a top prospect and you drop several spots.
Okay. Being that's all prior to the phone call, then did the phone call matter?
I think if Bo was honest, it might have shifted Sonny's opinion of him, but I have no idea if that would have changed the outcome. I think it would be more interesting to see Sonny more conflicted if Bo is honest, because as Sonny says, it's a character issue for him, as he explains to the team he trades with. The team he trades his second draft picks away with.
Yeah, the Jaguars.
Yeah. She says he thinks his gut feeling is now is that he's a bust, having watched the footage a little bit more and see the effect that defenses can have on him, and also the fact that that he was being lied to, and that's a character thing for him. So I do think that it's not a pointless phone call. I think it reinforces the way he's still trying to make a decision.
Okay.
Is it within Sonny's character to just give the ticket at the end, I guess, without consulting?
Yeah.
Because they all brought up, it's tradition.
No, that's fine.
Like, well, screw tradition. We got to win first.
At this point, yes, because I think everyone in the war room has an expectation. He just doesn't want to rehash anything with them right now. I think it makes sense for his character at that point, going with his gut, and then he gets ends up getting Ray Jennings, which is the other player that the head coach was hyping to them. So I think that also works out. I don't see it as out of character. Yeah.
On a scale for Sonny, which one weighs more to him, selfishness or team?
Define team.
What's best for the team? That's what I mean for team.
Okay.
I mean, both Vontae and Ray are important to the team, but
70% leaning
all right,
team.
you finish.
Okay. I'm leaning more selfish angle after the talk he had where, like, 2 years he's done it. First time his father did it. Second time, I forgot what his reason was, but he didn't feel like it was his. And this was his time to make his team the way he wanted. That felt more selfish angle to me. He ignored the input of his crew and he just did it. That doesn't seem team to me. That's, I finally get to do it my way. That's what I get out of it.
But no matter what, with his team and the opening first slot, everyone would have said Bo. Because unless Sonny explains more of what he sees as Bo, no one sees any problem with Bo.
Yeah, but it's also now a team dynamic. Now people are going to know he just does what he wants. It's kind of a trust thing at this point. That potentially their point of view is he doesn't trust them to communicate. He just does whatever he wants. So I'm leaning more selfish angle. And Ryder, yours?
I'm leaning selfish angle as well. They do a good job of like him explaining the importance of Vontae Mack would have to the defense, but it doesn't really touch on that outside of the beginning. Because in his first conversation with Vontae talks about like helping them tackle the third down A gap that they need help with on the defense a lot. That's why the necessity for the team. That's the team aspect here. But it's not touched on more than that. It's mostly a focus on how Sonny feels about the characters of these people. So like, does he view them as a good person, that sort of thing. And that I think does lean into a little bit more selfish because it's very much he's going with his gut. He's not taking any advice. So I do think it's selfish. But I do think there is some team aspects at play here. Just the film doesn't really reiterate them. So I would say it's 80% selfishness, 20% team, because he does still think Vontae is a really good pick for the team. That just doesn't really play into the narrative of the film at this point. Unless you're inferring like I am from the beginning.
Alrighty. Audience, let us know what your percentage is or which side you lean on it. It's pretty subjective.
Crimson, this
point.
Is just for the decision of making the first pick by himself or the overall Sonny's character throughout the entirety of the film?
Sonny's character motivations, him as a GM.
Okay.
His job.
I'm only okay. If we're doing that, then no. He's definitely more team oriented than
Okay, I thought that's what the
self-oriented.
question was.
Yeah. If it's just the first pick, then I'm like, yeah, it's selfish pick. That's fine. But if we're talking him in generally, no, it's a team oriented thing. That's you didn't explain, I guess, that point POV to me, Crimson.
Oh, well, guess. You got two perspectives for you then.
But I'm not on. There's zero.
No,
Like zero
I don't
selfishness.
think anyone
no,
would probably
he made the call by himself. That's some weight. But I think I'm fine with the 70 leaning.
Yeah. Overall, I'm with you then, Springs. It's 70 leaning. With the pick in isolation.
Oh, just the pick, that's selfish.
Hired. Yeah. That's where I'm at, so. I will jump to I guess some quick snappy dialogue that I appreciated, which was Penn walking into Sonny's office and he lights up the draft. He lights the draft plan on fire.
When he's on the phone, yeah.
Yeah, while he's on the phone. Is this a bad time, Sonny? And they get into it, and I think that scene has really good dialogue because you get into why they don't work well together. The head coach, Penn thinks that Sonny is kind of a nepotism hire, whereas Sonny doesn't think he's a good coach because of his history with the Cowboys. Also, by the way, that's an inaccuracy. The Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since the 1990s.
Shots fired.
And yeah, I mean, I make fun of the Cowboys any chance I get. And that's not just because I'm a 49ers fan. It's just because they call themselves America's team. And I'm like, they're not. No team in America. No one in America thinks they're American teams outside of Cowboys fans. So, yeah. People will be more likely to agree that the Patriots are America's team. And, everyone's biased towards their own team. But you would get more people saying the Patriots are America's team than you would say the Cowboys at this point. Okay, rant done. But like you get it does a good job exploring their dynamic, and then also the way Allie kind of breaks it up with blowing out the fire. But it's a good dialogue, good character stuff, and it gets to the core of why they distrust each other and have a dysfunctional GM head coach relationship because the GM didn't hire him. So
pretty extreme, lighting it on fire. Yeah. And then you have Brian later storming in his room and trashing it too. A lot happens in this office.
Yeah. Rick loses his computer laptops.
Too.
Yeah. Why did Rick leave his computer in that room?
I have no idea.
It could get broken.
I wish like he followed Allie in there, like taking notes with something on the computer, ended up leaving it because he was sent on an errand. I think that would have been the easiest way to set that up, but we don't have any setup. It's just there.
Yeah, and he has a reception desk where he would put it outside the office. I don't know why it's in the office.
Yeah, that's definitely it's a nick for me. It's above a nitpick, I think, for me on that one.
I have it as a Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate.
Well,
maybe there was something he wanted to show in there, and it got left.
But
that is not shown or conveyed in any way.
I'm trying to think if this is like a glass lighting thing where there was a previous scene where he set it down, but it's not focused on. With the glass swap.
I'd have to rewatch the movie for that again, and I didn't see it. So
we all saw it.
Now it's not in the film.
So
yeah, it's not in the film. That's how I'm gonna treat it.
I think I have this a little higher. I think I have this as an issue because it causes a whole scene with Sonny and Rick over it.
Yeah, like I said, I like the outcome for it. That might be why I have it lower.
It's like a punchline with no setup.
Something credence to both their characters. Yeah. I don't know if I'd go as high as an issue.
It's not a flaw or problem. but it does cause a whole
Yeah.
change in character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Issues are middle ground. Like I said, I'm on a Nick. It's not too far away. I'm kind of in that range as well. I'm on a Nick for now, but I could be talked up to issue, I think.
And Crimson.
I'm at Nick. It does add a scene to the film, but the scene doesn't really add impact to the characters, I feel. You know that Sonny's sorry and he's willing to buy a new one, but that's not the most important information to his character. So
I think
I'm at a
the
Nick.
important information for that is that he owns up to his mistake, contrasting with Bo, who doesn't.
Yes, and he's being honest, fully honest, which he does with Allie in the closet. And it's a calm situation. But it's also a tension breather in the film itself for pacing, which is caused from an effect that isn't, no setup for. It's just there.
Yeah. So I do think this scene is. I'm going to not be as low as you are on how important that scene is, Crimson, but I do think it's a good scene. Even if Rick is a little bit over the top.
Ryder, I got a question.
Alrighty.
Yeah, you had Fonte get ejected from the game for giving a game ball to a fan. Is that feasible? Is that a thing? I'm used to baseball where who cares if the ball's taken, but I know football has a bunch of spare balls.
So I'm not as sure about college. I think you can't celebrate college like that. And there was a lot of attempts in the early funny enough, in this era when the movie came out, there was in this time period, there was a lot of restrictions coming out about NFL touchdown celebrations and celebrations in the end zone. A lot of those were started to be viewed as taunting and stuff like that. So the NFL started putting a lot of regulations on it. So for this time period, I think it's appropriate kind of that he was ejected. And I don't think it's the fan ball thing that got him ejected. It's the fact that he touched the refs that got him ejected. You can't touch the refs.
I mean, I'm not too knowledgeable on it, but I think if it was the clock was in overtime and that's the last touchdown, then that's the winning game ball or whatever, and that can be given away because that happens all the time with baseball or hockey. They leave the stands and they give the puck to a kid or something. But in the midst of a game, to purposely give a ball away, I feel makes sense to be flagged rather than an accidental foul ball or throwing the ball in the stands or something like that.
Yeah, so him getting flagged, what that would have done is that would have just added on, that would have just changed the kicking position for the return of the other team. That's all that would have done. It was just give them extra yards. But it's the touching the refs that got him ejected. That is actually a rule in the NFL. You cannot touch the refs. So it's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily the celebration. It's more frowned upon if you celebrate like that in college than if you do in the NFL. And mind you, I'm not as familiar with college rules, because if that's a college rule that you can't do that, I wouldn't know. But I just know the rules for the NFL where can't touch the refs, and now you can celebrate in the end zone again because a lot of people viewed that ruling out touchdown celebrations was ruining football. And I know people who throw their football in the stands just out of celebration when you're in the NFL.
Out of curiosity, I looked up how many balls are used in a NFL game. They have prepped. They have 60 footballs. 30 to be expected to use, and then 30 backups.
Oh, how many balls has been the max used in one game of football?
Yeah, I don't know, because footballs are very heavily regulated on how much air pressure and stuff, and when you use it, air gets lost and all that. So it's expected you go through a lot of balls.
Yeah, and it's also
drama with the air, right?
Yeah, Flatgate. And then on to add more to that, that's why the Thursday night football caused a big issue because the Thursday night football was bigger than the normal football for a season or two there when Amazon first bought the rights to Thursday night football.
Yeah, temperature also can affect the ball's air pressure and stuff. So the reason I brought up how many and looked up how many is because I don't see why they'd care if one got tossed to a fan, because they have, now that I know, 60.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's purely for the drama because I can't think of a reason. Again, the reasons I have is just he touched the ref. That's why he got ejected. But getting flagged, it might have been too personal of a celebration because, again, I know in the Green Bay has this issue. There's the Lambeau leap. It's where the football players jump onto the fence, like sit down on the fence and let their fans like hug them and pat their helmets and stuff like that before they hop back down. They got flagged for that a lot. But the players still continue to do that because they view their fans as important things to celebrate, important people to celebrate with.
Yeah, the cheeseheads.
As an important part of the culture. Yeah, the cheeseheads. So like they got flagged for that all the time to celebrate. And so it's normal to be flagged. But again, I think it's the toughing the rest that got him ejected.
Okay. I was curious, Ryder, if there's a fact you found or knew. But for me, being within, I think, the first 3 minutes, I think it was like right after the 2-minute mark of the film, they say the film name Draft Day. I was curious how many times they say the word draft in this movie.
I didn't find a fact for that, so.
It's
sorry.
Draft Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. How many do you think?
At least 40.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm leaning somewhere between 30 and. I'm leaning between 30 and 50. Is kind of where my range is as well. They say it a lot. I'll jump to.
Whoa, hang on. Need a guesstimate from Crimson.
Oh, that's true. Sorry.
Oh, we do?
No, yeah, we do.
Between 1 and 1,000.
You're so full of it. Okay. Go ahead, Ryder.
All right. I will say I do like one of my favorite bits of acting in the film is I like Vontae's reaction to being drafted quite a bit because he's, even when he was feeling down, he was still helping Sonny out. Like, you got to go watch the footage, do this, do that. And I like the reaction because he's clearly expecting to drop to the 15th and he gets drafted first, and you can see how everybody celebrates and he's just staring at the screen in shock. Just as I think that can work over into, as well as I like the follow-up to that where Sonny calls him because Sonny's the one that wanted him. And, Vontae can't speak because he can't believe he got drafted first. And then I like that Coach Penn gets to be the one to call Ray because Coach Penn is the one that's wanted to get Ray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff for me. Like the character bits, like the just the portrayal of it, and the fairness between the head coach and the GM, even though their positions aren't really necessarily about fairness. Makes it feel like they're coming together a little bit more. All right, Crimson, you got a point you want to jump to?
Sure. They have to go through like Bo's archival footage to kind of find his weak spots and stuff. And it's all kind of just seems last minute. I know they kind of had a throwaway line. It's like, well, we didn't expect that he'd be available for us. But I still think they would have done the research.
I think so, but they did say they were looking at other things in the research and not what Vontae posed to Sonny.
Yeah, I mean, like the primary thing you primarily researched the draft picks you're going to get, and since they knew or assumed Bo was going to go to the other teams, wasn't really a prospect, so that's why it's a lot last minute. So there is a degree of research they would do. They would know about him, a little bit, but they wouldn't necessarily know as much as, like, say, the Seahawks, which were initially planning to get him. So I think it works mostly.
Who couldn't find his weak spot of being a liar? I guess.
Quick question: how are we doing on notes, gentlemen? Just want to gauge where we are.
Very low.
I've been bouncing everywhere, so I don't know. Probably slim though.
All right. Try to do a couple more each. I'll go first, and then I'll fill you out in a bit. Again. I will jump to the radios that are used, the narration on the radios. I think as a storytelling tool, they do a good job of giving you the background history of the Cleveland Browns as to why, football is super important to them. It also tells you something about football fans. Is like, no matter how bad your team is, you will have loyal fans who do not abandon that team. Citing the North Carolina Panthers. But there's I guess I appreciated the way that the radio calls were handled, because it gives you a lot of the backstory of the NFL and how the perceptions of fans view their GMs, and how that changes when you see, like, fans outside protesting Tom trading away Bo Callahan, or how the Cleveland fans think of Sonny because he's, quote unquote, run the team into the ground. I think those are very, very good ways of applying pressure onto the position of Sonny, onto Sonny's position. And they're just good storytelling devices.
Yeah, I think they used them in the right places. I don't think it was oversaturated or underutilized. I think it was pretty well done.
I would agree. Gets the right information at the right time across. To go with the pacing.
It's kind of where I'm in agreement with as well. That my worry is that it was going to be oversaturated, and they didn't do that, thankfully.
Now, did they do as good as Apollo 13 with their news stuff in that?
Apollo 13 had more.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was also more relevant, I think, in Apollo 13.
Well, yeah, it was to dumb down the technobabble for general audiences.
Yeah, which is important in a film like that.
Yeah.
All right. Spriggs.
Sure. Let's see. What do you think Sonny's mom had to say to the war room to convince everyone to go out to the practice field?
I have no idea.
Me, you'll be grounded.
You'll be grounded, yeah.
I know. You'll be grounded.
I'm like, if Sonny, the son, wasn't gonna go, what? How did he get the whole war room to pause? What they're like? No one's in there then to take any calls.
Yeah,
and we don't know if it was the entire room.
Yeah, it looked like the entire room.
The best faith interpretation I have is that she went around saying, "Hey, they might even know her because of his father's time."
Oh, of course they know her.
Head coach of the team. Yeah, she could have gone around and said, "Hey, I want to spread, my father's ashes, or my husband's ashes on the field. Would you please join me? Because you're a very important part of this organization. This is what he would want." I think that would get a lot of people going, because football fans and people who work for football teams are, generally speaking, really loyal to that team. I'm a rare exception.
Yeah, I don't have really any problems, any damage tied to that. It's pretty feasible to me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say I have a nitpick with it.
I was gonna say before you go on your nitpick, I was gonna say my damage with it is probably, I don't want her. Without that scene, it just makes her come across as more petty. So I would want to know what she is saying to them. Like I can infer it, but I want to know if it's petty or not because she does a lot of petty BS in this film, and I think whatever she says to them could clear that out the air of that a little bit. All right, sorry, Springs.
No, it's okay.
Nitpick for you.
No, my nitpick is just that like it's draft day and there's calls coming in of trades and everything, and no one's there to take up the call if something comes in. When everything, as you said, Crimson is on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just at the stance where we don't know if no one's in the room.
I guess that's one thing I didn't.
I don't think it's just. I don't think it's just the war room. I think she did pull out people from the offices as well. Because there's a lot of people in the war room, but she pulls out more people than that. Could have been team players too, for all we know. Like Drew could have been in there.
Maybe. I feel like we would have seen him, but though it does go with the helping of the previous scene where Sonny explains to Allie that it was not the father but the mother of why he hasn't come around. Then she enters, so then it connects to that of kind of like a what's the word? Not relief, but like a follow through of relieving tension, I suppose.
Yeah. Springs.
That's me.
I'm sorry. I meant Crimson.
The other S name.
Yeah, sound very similar.
Yeah.
I just like your name, Springs. You know.
Oh, I know.
I guess to keep on topic with the mother, there's a shot of Sonny looking out the window at her, and she's just standing outside looking at him. And I just found that amusing. Like, how long was she just standing there looking at him, waiting for him to turn around and look at her? It's getting dark out. It's like sunset.
Yeah.
And she's just standing there looking out his window.
Trying to express her disappointment, and I'm like, I don't know. This is on you. You could have picked any other day.
How long was she standing there watching his window, waiting for him to look out the window?
I don't think
that's kind of funny to think about. I like to imagine that she's it's probably less. It's probably an hour or less because again we have the timetable thing. That would probably help. And the sun was going down when they were starting to go down when they went outside previously. But I like to imagine that she was like sitting down in the field, playing with the grass. Sees the door open up in her son's room, stands up quickly to look depressed, sees that it's Allie, doesn't care, sits back down. Then eventually her son comes in, and that's when she stands up and looks the way she does in the film.
That'd be pretty funny.
I don't know, she comes across as that petty to me, sadly. But yes, it does not fit the tone of the movie. But unfortunately,
I've been sitting here for 30 minutes.
I understood that reference.
I also understood the reference.
You low key understood that.
Okay, all right. You didn't have to. You didn't have to. You didn't have to force the strange comment out. Okay, it's just.
Oh gosh, now my brain is Thor.
Use that some other time. I think I don't remember.
Oh, the Thor pun. I used it a lot.
Yeah.
I've taken that from that is from Aladdin, Prince of Thieves.
No,
that
Prince
is
of Thieves.
100 Thieves. Was that one called the third one? Aladdin and the 100 Thieves. Gosh darn it.
1,000 Thieves. 10,000 Thieves.
10,000 Thieves. I'm like Prince of Thieves is the Robin Hood.
Million
movie.
Thieves.
That's what I'm thinking of. It's not a million.
I will.
I haven't seen it.
I'll go.
King of
I'll
Thieves.
Go,
That's it. Not Prince of Thieves.
King of Thieves.
Aladdin.
Yeah, Prince of Thieves is the
Robin Hood movie.
Prince of Thieves is the comedy one. Yeah. No, that's Men in Tights.
That's Men in Tights.
Yeah. I'll jump to again. It's just more pressure onto Sonny. I like that he goes to visit the trainer. He gets all this feedback about how Brian Drew has did so much training and stuff like that on the off season. And then it makes him regret the trade, which is the point of it. It's adding just more pressure onto him because he he did take the trade out as a gut instinct without really consulting a lot of people. And then he went to the bathroom, and we get a parallel between him and Allie, both looking at each other and being stressed out in their own versions, their own ways about everything that's going on. And I liked that scene. You get to play a lot with the parallels thanks to the editing.
Yeah.
The parallel lines and the parallel editing. Wow.
All right, Ryder, what do you think of one more each?
Yeah, well, I mean that would have been my last one.
Oh, that was your last one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking one more each. How about you, Crimson? Unless you got like a couple more you want to rapid fire out, Crimson. I'm gonna do one more each.
No, I guess I could keep it to one.
Alrighty. We will start with you, Crimson.
All right, so it's going to be large general topic of just the ending stuff, the final draft, with Tom and including the Jaguars, just how everything culminated. As a non-football fan, and me also not fully understanding it, I still felt it. I enjoyed it. I felt the pressure and the strength of the negotiating. So I think they did a good job with that. Tom, as a character, kind of, I guess he was consistent. He just felt kind of weaselly at the end. No, well, not weaselly. What's the word?
Taking advantage?
I don't know. Wimpy, I guess. He's just
wimpy.
We saw him more as a stern, confident guy, and then he's kind of put on his back heel and felt not as powerful anymore, which he is now in a weaker position. I guess it just comes down to I don't know how much power 3 years of first drafts are.
Pretty powerful.
Seems more powerful to me than the one quarterback. But...
yeah, it's about you within the next 3 years you might not have it's about the quarterback graduation draft class, because some years you might have only one really good quarterback available, and in other years you might have like 2 or 3 or 4. So yeah, first round draft picks are they're not guarantees. That's the whole thing. I would say as a football fan, I do think the film accomplishes the goal of that. Like it feels like it's for in the way it should be portrayed for non-football fans. The draft itself comes across with it gets the feeling of what draft night is like for football fans, because there are last minute trades that do happen. It occurs sometimes. You're waiting for a team to pick, and then it comes down to 2 minutes, and then suddenly another team comes up because they traded. It's happened before, so while it is dramatized here, it does happen.
Gotcha.
And what about you, Sprinks? How do you feel as a non-football fan?
I think it accomplished the feel of a film, of the big hoorah. It worked out, and it didn't feel like it fell flat. It is a terminology of stuff I don't know, but I think the feeling of what it was achieving worked.
All right. So I guess we're all in agreement with that one, Crimson.
Yay! So hard.
All right. Yeah. All right. Last one, Sprinks.
Oh boy, man! Since you went with the ending, Crimson, let me popcorn all the way to the beginning with the only note I have left that I haven't touched on. I don't think I've ever heard of the production company, the Montecito Picture Company. I don't know a single film they've done.
Did you look them up?
I did not, because I don't want to look up things on a film I'm not doing the facts for. I don't want to spoil myself of anything.
Oh, I'll look it up. Just give me a minute then.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
It was just something
All right.
I don't think I recognized it.
Recognized it.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
But I didn't know if it's a thing where it's like a sports connection, because a team's in here that has to be included kind of thing. Like it's owned by someone. I mean, they're all owned by someone, but that kind of feel. Like what was that? Oh, I watched it was Wonka, and Wonka has a I forget the name, Ronald Durall. That's probably not right at all, but it's like a company made just for like Willy Wonka movies or something.
That's a little goofy.
With something like that, it's like, wow, I've only seen this production company for this one movie. And I'm sure there's tons of like indie movies out there, you know, the ones that have well, what was it, The Circle? How many productions were behind The Circle? Like 10? Talking at a wall here.
Sorry, I'm looking it up.
I just remember The Circle starting just being like over and over and over again. Of just like, wow, where's the movie?
Also, looking at their list, I'm unsurprised we haven't seen much from them.
Okay, so more than one.
Yes. But the ones you might recognize by name are Baywatch.
Okay. The newer Baywatch.
They also were part of 2016 Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife 2021.
Oh.
They had a hand in Pink Panther 2006.
Oh, okay. Crimson would be all over that. Jojoba.
Hitchcock.
Okay.
And that's all the ones you would recognize. The rest of these look like small and indie films.
Okay. Well, I've seen some of their work then. Could be also the thing where the production logo's changed. But I don't know.
It might be that the logo is different, yeah. That's the logo animation might be unique, yes.
The only thing else I really had, which not really a fact or written down, just a question more so for you, writer, of a fact that I guess you may or may not have. The actor or not portrayed as the father in the photo with Kevin Costner for being the dad, is that anyone of importance?
I have no idea. I'll look that up too.
Because being just in the photo, not actually like, well, not alive, but someone visually shown, I didn't know if that was like, oh, that's like a famous football coach, or that's someone related to Kevin Costner, or something along those lines.
It is an actor, so it's not an actual football guy. It's David Gregg, who portrays Sonny Weaver Sr. in the photo.
David Gregg. Okay. Wonder how much David Gregg got paid to be in a photo.
No idea. I always ask the question. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I guess if that's all, we can move into summary and ratings for our first football season film. And we shall start with...
Writer.
Whoa.
Yeah, fuck it, sure. Why not? I'll go first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'll go first. I don't mind. I mean, it was either going to be... It's either one of you two or me. I only have 3 choices here. You know what?
That's very true.
Got to pick fast. All right. I will start with my subjective. I have a lot of personal subjective nitpicks about this film with regards to how it actually relates to football and what's being overhyped as far as drama is concerned. But I still enjoyed the story at play. The idea that this is just happens to be the most stressful day in football for Sonny Weaver, and he has to deal with all the other added stresses of everything else. I do think this film handles details really well in a nice way that made me smirk sometimes. I do think it incorporates football history really well as well, with subtle lines like, yeah, no one knew who Tom Brady was when he was passed over for, like, you know, however many positions in the draft he was passed over. Because he got drafted really late. That's a very big, important story for Tom Brady. And, you know, in comparison to, like, you know, other people who were drafted who are no longer big names and stuff like that. So I like the incorporation of football's actual history here. I think it does a good job with that, and that definitely helped with my subjective a little bit because I'm, again, I'm not a huge fan of the sport. I keep up with it, but I don't sit down to watch full games anymore. Um, and I think Sonny Weaver, in general, is an enticing character. I like Vontae. I like a lot of the characters here. I like Penn. Um, I quote unquote like the owner, even if he's a bit cartoonish. So overall, subjective, I think I'm at a 7. I This movie didn't really, maybe 6.5 actually. This movie didn't really break new ground for me, in far as like I didn't love the movie very much, but I would watch it again. I think it's an okay movie. There's I was entertained with it, and I wasn't really bored or annoyed with anything outside of the mother, which I'll get to the objective. Um, but yeah, I think overall it was a passable film, an enjoyable film, and it's a good introduction for uh, at least to the feeling of draft day for normies. Um, Objectively, the plot is pretty much follows Sonny. Sonny's our main character. We don't really leave his POV much outside of like brief insights to other teams. So like we leave his POV to the Seahawks. We see Allie on her own sometimes. We have a scene with Allie and Penn, and then we have the owner at the obviously at uh, the draft itself, and then we have a scene with Bo by himself without Sonny necessarily being weighed in. Which is when he goes outside because he's storming out. Because there's other stuff where they just show where characters are, but they don't really touch on what the character's thinking. So Sonny's our main POV character. I think that's a good way to structure the plot of this film. I do think that there's not much in the plot that's forced outside of what we've already talked about. I think a lot of it is naturalistic because he has Bo Callahan, teams would be interested in Brian Drew. So he talks with teams that would be relevant to want to have a conversation with him at the time that they're needed to. So there's not an oversaturation of that. I think world building, as I said, in subjective, I think it's mostly understandable. I agree with some criticisms. There are some. They need to make the way the draft structure a little bit more clear for normies. Everything is focused on the first round, which is typical for draft day anyway. But if Crimson walked away not fully understanding how the draft works, I do think that's worth noting for the world building in this film. Sprinks, you said you understood it, but you were still iffy on a few things. Again, I do treat that as a fault of the film. Because it could have been made more clear on how draft works, what they're trading away, what's being traded. Because that is a lot of lingo, as you all have said, that you don't necessarily understand. And so I do think that does tack into the world building of the film. That's stuff that's needed to be conveyed and explained to the audience. Characters. I think every character has a purpose here. I think the weakest character is obviously the ex, who's removable. We all agreed. I'd say the mother is probably the most forced arc in the film. I don't understand why they're all goody-goody together, and that's because the stress of draft day is behind them, or at least the stress of the first draft day is behind them. Doesn't really work for me as a terms of quality of writing, because I think the mother is missing aspects that are supposed to help us endear her at the end, and she doesn't have those qualities because as it stands from this film, she's just comes across as vindictive. And I don't think that's the intention of the writers. And that's a problem because that's how she comes across. It's the writers wanted her to be some way, but the writing says another. Or there's a clash there that makes her inconsistent. I would say the owner at the end, his resolution of thinking Sonny's a good GM. I had to infer a lot, and that's from my own personal football knowledge. There's not much here to grasp on within the context of this film. Otherwise, though, I think the film is, again, pretty decent. I think I'm at I've been bouncing between a 7 and an 8. I think I'm going to land on a 7 for now, and we shall see how I feel in recap. And next up is going to be Crimson.
All right. Well, you know what's between 7 and 8 is 7.5.
Ryder does that all the
What's
time.
that?
I'm thinking of 40. I'm thinking somewhere between 30 and 50. Yeah.
I like giving ranges as to where my head is at. And sometimes I go with the extreme on the range, and sometimes I land in the middle, you know?
What was it? Subjective. So, it's football. Not a big football guy. The characters in it aren't really that interesting to me. I think my favorite character would probably have been the coach, but even then that's like surface level. The actual plot in the finale to the film is okay. Finale, I did feel the finale part of it being the draft. Outside of that, pretty meh movie. I have it at a 5. Didn't dislike it, but it's not something I need to see ever again. Objectively, because it's very simple, there's not a lot that it could go wrong with it. I think the camera work is good. Editing, we talked about, I think is good. Lighting, out costumes, pretty much all the basic, air quote basic stuff, pretty solid. The core damage to anything is the writing that I saw. The fact that how the draft works isn't fully fleshed out. The drama is oversaturated, and just the whole mother plot line, not to tread too much. It's just because it's so simple, there's not a lot to get wrong. I'll have it at a 7.5.
All
right, that leaves you, Sprinks.
It sure does. Oh boy, let me start with my subjective, because it'll be a bit shocker. The film to me is a fine film, but it's not a film for me because I don't understand it. Like if I'm a football fan, I think this would be far bigger, or just more of an understanding of football. It's just so much terminology and like the whole part where not Tom, what's the guy's name? Dennis Leary's character is sitting at the table with Allie, and he's just going over like all the stuff he knows, saying all the plays. To me, that's all gibberish. I haven't a clue what he's saying. He said ice cream at one point. Don't know what that means. So it's stuff like that where it's like what they're doing is understood to the reality of in-world of also people who know football like lineup. I get all that. I just don't know what it is. And kind of a little detriment is the movie didn't really explain fully the importance of things too much. As the movie went along, you get more information on it of why first picks, second picks, all these trades and the future seasons and all that makes sense of why it's such a big deal. But it also is a small story, and with all the information going crazy, like a tweet that Vontae gave, I feel like it's only showing Sonny's story, but all states are in the same situation for draft day of all their teams. So I feel like there would have been a little more crossover with things because it's only the Cleveland Browns, and it's not like going to Seattle to like make their trade and like, oh well, we already made a trade with Wisconsin, or California called, or Washington, with the Seahawks, or like there's not more interaction of all the teams for Bo or any other situation. It's just solely on the Cleveland Browns and the drama made for them. So I have this movie right in the middle for me, 5.5. I don't see it leaning as like I fully like it because I just don't understand most of it, of what they're saying, but it's not a bad movie with how the entertainment factor of it is. So that's why it's like right in the middle for me.
Might I add one more thing, because you actually brought up something?
Sure.
Football head coaches name their plays really random shit. So the ice cream stuff, you're not supposed to understand that.
Oh yeah, no, like trust me. I got the stick and nod stuff. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think one of my plays on the 49ers is like Banana 2 or something like that. There's some really weird names for plays out there. So yeah, you even an outsider, you're not supposed to, that is supposed to sound like gibberish to you because we're not looking at their playbook.
Well, yes, but to one who knows
Yeah.
football, it's like all understood. It's like, okay, actual like plays of what they have in their book of like coaching everything. It's like, okay, cool. He knows how to coach and what he's doing. To someone like me, a normie who doesn't know that, it is just lunacy being spoken kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
it is just gibberish. Yeah.
So that was just also just an example.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I will then go with my objective. I think this movie is very well edited. The transitions and the overlays are very stylized. It's very sporty. It feels very much the football game with the transitions of like the team names or like the logo overlook kind of thing before going into like showing stats or the announcers or something like that. It feels like that, but it's not cartoony. Like you're not going to actually have like logos pop up kind of thing. They do have that where it shows like the home of, I guess that's the closest they have, but that's like makes it feel like you're kind of watching a sports game stylized for the movie, and I think that's very, very cool. The green screen overlay draw mask, however they did it, I think is very cool. No film comes to mind of something else like that, because there's a lot of films that do the phone call shot with like the two and how they interact. This one is both on top of each other kind of thing, which is very, very interesting. That's probably the biggest thing I have for this movie. The acting, I think, is all good. A lot of big names, a lot of good acting on a lot of parts. The little cameo from like Sam Elliott, I don't even know if it's a cameo, but he's like a coach character in this, and I'm like, crazy he's in here. And then Tom Wellings is Brian Drew, and you got Dennis Leary, and you got Jennifer Garner, and you got Chadwick Boseman. You got a bunch of people. The writing, I guess, even though I don't understand some of it or a fair amount of it, there's still things I don't fully get, like the Anthony thing, like why he's okay when we didn't see him prior. Writing the laptop for the scene when it's not shown really why he was there for Rick. The mom showing up unannounced. The sake of the drama buildup, which I do think is too much. Not to the point of unbelievability, but for the sake of a fictional story to just give the tension of draft day, dad died, ex-wife shows up unannounced, father's will hearing he didn't go to, girlfriend he's with is pregnant, like just all this piled on is just like to give more. And they still had that with the football thing, but I feel like with the football thing there should be maybe more stuff with that, more so than Sonny's character and his life. Let's see, costuming's fine, lighting's fine, cinematography I think is pretty good. I always leave out something. There wasn't really CGI in this movie, I don't think, at all, so fine on that. But overall, I think it's a very well-made movie for what it's depicting and doing. Just the little things here and there that doesn't excel it as much as it could. I have this at an 8, objectively.
All right. And I guess with that, any final thoughts before I read us out, gentlemen?
Crimson said in his subjective that he's not a big football guy. Oh boy, what a season we'll have.
We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll grow to love it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
This is 1 out of... Can we tell the audience how many there's going to be?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I don't see why not.
Okay, well, there's 6 that we're doing.
Yes, and the first one is done.
Yes.
All right. Well then, audience, thank you for listening. Whether it be from Spotify, Amazon, CastBox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, and Samsung, and even if our visual side of things, be it YouTube, Rumble, or frickin' Spotify, thank you for watching our PNG Deeper slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us if you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.